as we begin to discuss James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And I know I'm a bit, late to the party, but I've actually watched the movie on opening night, and I'm going to be sharing my thoughts. However, I am going to have to warn you that there are going to be spoilers right off the bat. Now, traditionally, I would just dedicate a whole podcast to a spoiler-free discussion, and then, split it in half and have it be a spoiler discussion afterwards. But we're not going to do it in this episode because, I'm trying to be economical with my time here, and I also feel like this movie is better to be discussed in its spoilery attributes as opposed to just censoring my thoughts just so I don't spoil a thing or two. No. I'm going to go all in with the spoilers. So, if you have not gotten the chance to avail this movie in your local cinemas near you, or whenever it comes out on digital platforms and home media, I would recommend that you put this podcast on hold, or just skip this segment altogether and then perhaps come back to it once you have got the chance to avail the picture. Because I need to have a spoiler discussion to demonstrate a key point of what I'm actually trying to get at, which is how the Guardians 3 almost restored my faith in the Marvel Cinematic Universe franchise. First off, I haven't been thrilled with the state of the cinematic universe lately with Marvel. And here is why I believe the MCU ignored the fundamental elements of what made Phases 1 to 3 a hit to begin with. There were actually filmmakers in Phases 1 to 3 who didn't lack vision, or vision, pun intended, with people like Jon Favreau with the first Iron Man installment, which I contend is one of the... It's not like my top 10 movies of all time, or not even top 20, but it's in like my top 30. Yeah, it was good. Iron Man 1, great. Iron Man 2, And Iron Man 3, I really enjoyed. And then we have the Captain America trilogy, which I also enjoyed. And yeah, we have the Guardians trilogy now, which I'm gonna discuss the third one in just a moment. But the point I'm trying to make is that Phases 4 and then Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania didn't really have those filmmakers who added their creative touches and contributed to the MCU's magic. It lacked that. And it kind of annoys me that they can't just, employ... Well, now with the writer's strike, that's going to be a bit hard, but I don't get why it was very difficult for them to just employ caliber writers. Because going off from Avengers Endgame, you want to keep the momentum going. Because you're essentially telling people, we have more after Endgame. You should still stick around. Well, why should we stick around? And so far, the MCU and Disney hasn't given us a good reason. Until maybe, just maybe, the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So anyway, Phases 4 and the beginning of Phase 5 with Ant-Man and the Wasp's Quantumania ignored what made Phases 1 to 3 a hit. Which is honestly just infuriating, and although I have not been thrilled with the MCU as of late, for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 distributed in theaters on May 4th, I attended the opening premiere for the movie, as I've already mentioned. And let me just say, okay, it is a excellent MCU movie. It doesn't set the precedent for cinema or anything like that. And sure, there are a couple flaws here and there, but Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is pretty exceptional. having the team break up in the end was much more effective than having, one of them die and then boo-hoo, like Tony Stark died in the Endgame, and it becomes this whole cliche where characters start getting killed off in the finale. But actually, they kept him alive, which they didn't have to do, actually. They may as well have killed off Peter Quill, but, James Gunn obviously wanted to keep him alive to hammer in one of the messages that this movie was trying to convey, which is, don't jump from lily pad to lily pad, you need to learn how to swim. And Peter Quill he's gone through the summer phase with the Guardians in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2, and now he's metaphorically going back to school. He needs to go to Earth and kind of reconnect with his grandfather, who we saw in the beginning of the first Guardians film. But then he just ran away and he got abducted. But then, the interesting thing is, he had every chance, especially in Avengers Endgame, where he went for Tony's funeral, to pay his grandfather a visit. But he didn't, because it's like he didn't want to. He felt like his family was up there in the cosmos, which is the Guardians. You get what I mean? So, it wasn't until the end of the movie that we get to witness this well-needed closure for Star-Lord, Peter Quill. Also, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was packed with some acceptable, not exceptional, but acceptable action and, computer-generated imagery. It also had some dark and mature scenes, which I greatly appreciate, like when Lylla triggered the kill switch and then the young Rocket started to break down. And the Grand Evolutionary just mocking him, like, and the asshole that he is. No, not Grand Evolutionary, the High Evolutionary, yes. And, yeah, but the cons of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, it could have been, darker and grittier. Like, I wish they actually had the balls to show us a close-up scene of what traumatized Rocket from the, recording footage. And I wanted to see kind of, not R-rated, but like, maybe they could have upped the ampage of how evil the High Evolutionary really is. By the way, guys, if I slip up and mention Grand Evolutionary instead of High Evolutionary, it's only because I'm kind of bad at remembering his full villain title. So anyway, yeah, I get it. Nebula said that the High Evolutionary, not Grand, High, is worse than Thanos, but, like, show us, without having to be constrained by the PG-13 rating, how evil that the High Evolutionary really is. Because animal abuse in real life is much more graphic than we saw in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And I think you could have showed us a bit of that while keeping it PG-13. I don't know, like, sacrifice Peter Quill's F-bomb and compromise for a more graphic scene of Rocket. Like, I get that probably makes me sound sadistic, but, that's just how I feel. Also, another con of this movie is that Adam Warlock just felt like a character who was just there to boost the plot and nothing more. I mean, I like the imagery with Adam and the quote-unquote son of God, since Peter Quill is the son of a Celestial, and then, just him saving Peter Quill. But other than that, it was like a nothing more, nothing less kind of situation with his villain to hero arc, you know what I mean? Other than that, I had a really fun time watching this movie, and it ties in the whole trilogy arc of the Guardians nicely. So, I mean, if you're looking for a fun time, go watch this movie. If you lost faith in the MCU post Phase 4 and want to have it restored again, also watch this movie. Now, what I'm not looking forward to is the Marvels. The first teaser trailer for this upcoming MCU flick made me cringe. Not in a good and impactful storytelling kind of way, like I felt with Rocket in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, where I literally cringed at how horrifying, the abuse that Rocket Raccoon had to suffer. But no, I actually cringed at the Marvels because I was annoyed at how the dialogue was written just from watching the trailer. I'm not looking forward to it, to say the least. Which leaves me to conclude that yes, the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 almost restored my faith in the Marvel Cinematic Universe franchise, but not entirely, because James Gunn is departing from the Marvel domain and investing more of his time on his DC Extended Universe, which I am really looking forward to. And I talked in length about who's getting casted for Superman Legacy, which is a DC movie that he's actually directing, which, honestly, I couldn't have been more happier. Okay. That's all I have to say regarding the Guardians of the Galaxy. I liked it, but now we should hold our breath for the rest of Marvel Phase 5. Because, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, it's now evened out with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I hope the Marvels actually becomes that tiebreaker where actually Phase 5 becomes, more prominent in it having a good set of movies. Okay, enough of me talking. What do you think about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, directed by James Gunn? Did you like it? Not like it? If you would ever feel so inclined, jot down your thoughts of this third installment of the Guardians of the Galaxy in the comment section below or our Twitter handle at Cinema Courtroom.